What do you make of Aaron Glenn's decision to not let anybody know who the starting quarterback is?
I mean, when you think about it, we know that you have to play the game with a quarterback. I think you almost have to, or somebody that's playing the role of the quarterback. But when you listen to the comments of Woody, when you also see that he was benched, and you look at the performance, then you know that they were looking for a spark. So why not give Tyrod Taylor a legitimate shot to prepare as the starter, to know that he's the starter, and for him to act like he's the starter. But, the thing is, all this secret mission, CIA stuff, it's like, come on, you're not fooling anybody, right? When you think about the fact that who's going to get the reps, right? You can hide that, but I don't think Cincinnati cares who's the quarterback is. They're going to have a plan for either quarterback. But what I think it does is it creates a weird atmosphere in the locker room when you're saying we all know who's going to be the quarterback, but in the media we're going to pretend like we don't know.
Why has Justin Fields not been able to find success?
Well, listen, this is like the fifth offense that he's been in, still learning how to adjust to that. So even though he's a veteran quarterback, he's still young within this system, and he never had the continuity of being able to have the same offensive coordinator. He's had multiple coaches. He's been in 3 different destinations, and he just seems like a guy that may just need to sit for a while to kind of learn. We looked at Sam Darnold, we looked at Baker Mayfield, we looked at guys like that that had more success. I mean, 14 wins in his career. A bunch of offenses. It seems like he just needs to take a step back. Right, because a lot of pressure.
More for his confidence or more for?
You have to go to the lab and develop. And I think because he's always the starting quarterback, he doesn't have an opportunity to step back and develop and how to build himself in the shadows. And that's what we've seen from, whether you look at Mitchell Trubisky that comes out that looks like he's a good quarterback now when he comes in for Josh Allen. When you look at Marcus Mariota, he comes in for Jayden Daniels, looks like a good quarterback. We look at Mac Jones. These are all guys that got disappointed but actually had to sit behind somebody for a whole year so that they can learn. Because you can learn a lot more by watching than sometimes doing, because when you're doing, it's so much pressure to move so fast and the expectations are so high. He needs to go somewhere. He needs to have time to not have any expectations, to work on himself and come out a better football player.
So could he be a backup here next year, or does he need to go somewhere else, like you said?
It depends. Like for him, is he comfortable with being a backup, and a backup to who? Is it a backup to a young quarterback? If it's a backup to a young quarterback, he won't have an opportunity to develop. We saw that happen with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones didn't want to sit behind J.J. McCarthy because he wanted an opportunity to start. So what did he do? He identified somebody who was struggling as a starter that maybe he can take his job, and that turned out to be Anthony Richardson. So he needs to find around the league. Maybe he sits behind Kyler Murray, right? Something like that, where he can learn where it's a quarterback that, may be in or out of the lineup or maybe traded or something like that. I mean, that would be my best advice to Justin Fields. Sometimes you have to sit back and develop. And the problem is when you're a first-round draft pick, everything you do is so magnified and it's in front of everybody. I was an undrafted free agent. I wasn't ready to be a starter in this league, but I was able to mature, grow, and develop in the shadows. And nobody saw how bad I looked or how bad of a football player I was or the big mistakes that I made, because I made them in practice. But then I was able to develop, and when I was ready, I came out and I took advantage of my opportunity.